got anything to base off, given that they haven't played it yet. But we get to see that for the first time here and now inside of our second game of the day.
This is our first chalet that we've had in this stage as well. And it was a really popular map choice back in stage 1. It's become unpopular again.
Well, we've had a couple of play days here. We've had 3 play days, so I don't think it's I wouldn't say unpopular. Surely there's another map we've not had yet.
Coastline. Haven't had any cheeky coast. I can't think of
I think that's the only one.
Yeah, I think that might be it.
I think it is.
I'm not complaining though. I'm not a huge fan of coastline.
Well,
I would much rather see some chalet, and that's what we're getting.
I would, to be fair. It's been a while. Thatcher, Flores, Valkyrie, and Wamai are going to be our bans. Flores and the Valkyrie from Liquid as things that they would like to remove. Valkyrie makes a lot of sense. So many opportunities for information here on this map. With it being one of the bigger maps, you really do need to get a bit more info than just your standard couple of bulletproofs and rely on the defaults for as long as they stay alive. You need to have something else out there ideally, so removing the Valk is going to give INTZ a little bit of a harder time figuring out where this push is going to come from.
I think I'm also seeing a pattern as well. Team Liquid banned Flores, but they also banned Flores in their match against FaZe Clan as well back on Playday 2. So shouts to me that it's not necessarily a map-specific decision. It's more just that Team Liquid simply don't like playing against Flores, which is an interesting thing because other teams will note that, and they will realize that that is something that Team Liquid see as a discomfort for them, and they can probably exploit that by taking operator picks that they know that Team Liquid aren't going to ban because they would sooner ban Flores. So we'll see going forward in the stage if that's something that does persist, but it is a ban that Team Liquid have done more than once in a row now. So INTZ are starting off on defense, and they're going to be going down to Bar, which is very typically the primary site here on Chalet. So entirely unsurprising that they're going to be going there. Oftentimes you see a really heavy defensive presence upstairs, though. You're going to get defensive presence in library, you're going to get defensive presence out in the library corridor too, and maybe even extended as far into piano. Because the attacking team are likely to push in from the top floor, but over from this kind of northeast side. So it means you need to get in through piano, through the library corridor, to actually have access to the library stairs. And you'll likely see an attacker or two try to push in through library itself so that you can open up the floor down into the site, and that will of course need to be cleared. So you're much stronger to have a very upstairs defense here when defending this site.
INTZ have got themselves set up now as well with VNX. He's going to be playing, trying to keep an eye on any of those Geminis that are coming on through. E1D going to provide a little bit of cover. Kind of strange to see Sexicate, the player that's going to be on that rappel, but I guess it's safe for the time being. Needs to get himself on in. There are hard reinforced walls that you may look to try and get open when attacking onto this Bar site, but it is by no means a requirement. It's usually played very vertically, and there's usually a lot of control inside of library contended for. In the meantime, we're seeing much more presence over toward the trophy side and this sort of master bedroom and office area, whilst the push will now start to come towards this library stair. Zach playing at the top of library stairs with a Goyo shield. He has got an ADS in hand as well, but they play fairly aggressively for the time being.
We were warned about aggressive play, weren't we, Ollie?
We were. There was a disclaimer.
Yeah, it was said out at the very beginning. Well, here's one of the E1Ds, and that's an ADS that's going to be burned at the top of library stairs too. So far, the Vulcan shield does still stand, but don't be surprised if Zach has to back downstairs soon, especially when 2 nades are sent straight in. But actually, neither of them have been able to remove the shield just yet, still being eaten up by the utility that is placed there to prevent them. Hornetown as well is not too far away, and he can watch very much into the office and the library corridor. In fact, he gets a kill onto Sexy Cake as the opening kill of the round.
Palu is able to respond. Zach still playing on these library stairs. The diffuser cold for the time being, but it is easily in a position to be recovered. A C4 is going to fly up from Drunks, but it's not going to hit its mark. Another E1D comes on through as PSK has a nice angle there, but just can't land his shots. Puts a ton of chip damage in onto Zach. Moringa, he finishes it off vertically. 13 seconds left, and only now are we making holes in library floor to the ceiling. Drunks, he's going to be able to find a kill over onto Moringa. It's all going to come down to poor old PSK, but he is not in a position to do anything about that. INTZ take full advantage there of Baron Gaming and pick up round 1.
Yeah, Team Liquid were actually very slow in the way that they were trying to push through. And I think a huge issue with the way that they were trying to attack is there wasn't a ton of pressure on Library itself. So even when they were trying to pressure the top of Library stairs and force Zach back, Hornetown was still in a great position to punish Sexy Cake and anybody else who was looking to come in through the balcony or come in through office. If there had been pressure behind Hornetown that had come in through Library, then maybe that wouldn't have been such an option. Those Goyo shields provided a big problem for Team Liquid, and despite committing so many frag grenades into their removal, those frag grenades basically got wasted. And at that point, you have utility standing in your way that is blocking the path forward that Team Liquid simply couldn't find a way around. They had to recollect the diffuser, continue to try and push on forward, and so much time was just spent. I mean, it was 40 seconds on the clock left at the point at which Hornetown got that opening kill anyway. Team Liquid were uncharacteristically slow, and that was a very strange round for them.
You know what else it was? Not aggressive.
Yes!
Which is strange, because in the video it said it was going to be aggressive. But no, jokes aside, Liquid were very slow there. It's very checklisty, is Chalet, and the way that INTZ defended that, to my eye and for what we got to see, there was nothing that was entirely new and groundbreaking. It was just the classic hold on to the top of Library stairs, challenge Library, waste a lot of time out on the roam, and then hold on to the site in the dying few stages. So that's exactly what they were able to do there. It was a great round there from INTZ in that manner. They were technically able to perform that strategy, and it worked out for them. But we just saw some sort of slow decision making on the side of Liquid. Now, Chalet isn't really a map you can afford to be so slow on, just in that there's usually quite a lot to do. There's a lot of option for particularly a Rooney on this map, and you couple that with a couple of ADSs, and all of a sudden it does make removing those Vulcan shields very difficult indeed, and it's kind of what we saw happen to Liquid previously. Now, we've already seen a minute here, and we're going to get an E1D come out. It's not really going to do all too much, as everybody on the side of INTZ is fairly happy where they are at the moment.
Again, Vulcan shields. You can see another regular shield over in office itself. INTZ leaning into the shield play. Not even necessarily more so than any other team would do, but that was such a huge problem, an obstacle for Team Liquid on round number 1, so it's something that is worth noting. The droning out of Piano is going to give Liquid the information as to the whereabouts of the defenders in there, but it hasn't actually forced Zach out of his position in any way. Liquid still need to clear out this utility and breach open the wall too, although I say that and actually part of the wall is soft. That's how VNX... Oh, not VNX, sorry. That's how one of the players from INTZ was able to try and take some shots in through there. Sexy Cake just outside of Piano too, and that's going to pique Zach's curiosity, and Palu can punish him straight away for it.
This is something Liquid are really good at, is getting those rotation kills here on this map. They'll very seldom fully commit, especially Palu. He'll regularly try and bait players onto the windows and just be in positions to try and take advantage. A nice early kill there in terms of this execute, because we're not really expecting to see any mega early kills on this map. That'd be a bit of a mistake from either side. But at the start of the execute is going to be about right for when these frags start to fly. Now, Vitz, he's a bit of an unknown quantity here. The plant is going to be going down, covered in part by the Toxic Babe canisters. Sexy Cake is going to nail that one to the floor, get himself outside, and all of a sudden it's going to be a post plant here for INTZ. They've desperately got to try and retake, but look at the positioning on the side of Liquid. Everybody in the right place at the right time. Poor old Drunks, E1D, 1 versus 4, finds himself Palu. Can he continue? Can he grab the remaining 3? He's only got 20 seconds left. already he's getting pre-fired upon. It's a long-range engagement. The poor old SMG going for the shotgun at close range, finding his impactless frags, but he won't even do that. Nesk, he shuts him down as he had a big round there covering the cross.
Yeah, painful at the end there because it's such an easy place for attackers to be able to hold on to crossfires in the post plant, not only through the office wall or potentially through piano. Let's say someone had been there if Palu hadn't have died, for example, but also because the office balcony door, the door, let's shorten it to, it was right there. That's why he whipped out the shotgun at the end, because he knew there was a chance that Team Liquid could come aggressing in through there. He was the only player left. They had exact coordinates, let's say, on his location. It was a really nice place for Sexy Cake to decide to plant the diffuser. Not that it was a particularly unusual place to do so, but it certainly set them up for the post plant being as it was. And that was a nice round as well for Team Liquid to kind of make up for the issues of round number 1. But they need to prove that they can continue that on through remaining rounds. And given that INTZ have gone down to the kitchen this time, Team Liquid are once again going to be finding themselves in a round in which they're going to have to clear the upstairs before they can actually make it downstairs. And that was the big problem that they faced back in round 1. It's all well and good to prove that you can take the upstairs site, but can you continue to actually find success on the rounds that require the vertical play?
Yeah, the vertical play just isn't as much when you're attacking onto that upstairs site. Sure, you've got to go in and remove that mute jammer and shoot it from below, but it isn't as in-depth, it's not as deep as successfully taking both master bedroom, office, and then moving down into kitchen. Just leave you with quite a lot to do, but Liquid, they're going to be happy with a little bit of success here on the attack. We're giving them something to work from here. The thing really to watch for INTZ is these rotation kills, as I said earlier, that it's something that Liquid they've really gotten down to a T, and it's going to be everything coming together, right? It's the drone work, it's knowing where everybody is and exchanging that information, and then being able to pick up kills just like that. Palu finds himself too off the back of Sexy Cake's drone, and Nesk putting the pressure on.
I'd also like to point out that this is the second round in the row now that Palu's been able to get a kill into piano from that exact location. They lured Zach out of his position in the last round. They lured Zach out of his position in this round. If they're going to keep putting Palu in that same position because it's working for them, INTZ need to read into that.
Something that consistently Team Liquid are capable of doing, and just giving them a huge swing inside of this round. They can now breathe that sigh of relief knowing they have a 2-man advantage and over half of the round to play with. Plenty of time to relocate and get yourself set up fully. There's some interesting Maverick work being done there onto that wall, but it's going to give a nice line of sight for Nesk to make use of. Still, tons of information can be gathered on the drone. There's 8 drones remaining for Liquid, so they've only lost 2. They've got a ton of info at their fingertips. And they're all setting up now. Palu again finding one of those outside rotation positions.
About a minute remaining. INTZ have been shaved down to just 3 remaining players. Meanwhile, Team Liquid looking pretty healthy. Especially if you ignore the missing HP from Nesk and Palu, which probably isn't going to mean a huge deal. Another E1D is going to come out, and you can see these players of Team Liquid are working in conjunction with one another. None of them are particularly on their own. Presence downstairs still from INTZ is going to cause Team Liquid a bit of a headache, but those players, the defensive ones, still have to get upstairs if they're to actually defend the site itself, and Vitz isn't going to be able to do that. Drunks does get a kill onto Sexy Cake with the Toxic Babe canister, but the diffuser has been recollected immediately. Nesk the next to go down, however, and PSK is going to remove Drunks. So the constant backwards and forwards has left just VNX on his own in this 1v2.
E1D going to stop him from pushing on up while the plant is confirmed. Palu going to be able to watch that cross as well. I'm not sure if he saw the full play across him, but that pre-fire through the wall is going to give the game away. VNX only a fraction away from PSK's head there. The DMR pre-fired on through. PSK anticipating the swing there as he manages to find not only the plant, but the final kill as well.
Liquid, yeah, okay. I said that they were going to have to prove that they could get this one and deal with the multiple levels because that was what they struggled with in round one, and I'm satisfied at this point. So I suspect that if/when we do eventually go back to them attacking onto bar, they're going to, you know, well, maybe they won't be fine, but they probably will be better than they were in round one. I'm not worried about it anymore. But we'll be going to Master for the next round. So this is actually a really interesting choice, I think, from INTZ, given that this wasn't a round that they won on, but the round that they did win on is available, or the site that they did win on is available to them now. If they wanted to go to bar now, they can, but they're choosing not to. Now, that's quite ballsy, in my opinion, and I admire it, but I'm also like, why?
Why? Yeah. It really is. It's like, oh, you know, like, really good on you guys, but why? Well, obviously they've got the confidence to change things up. I imagine that not getting killed from windows is probably going to be fairly high on the list. I doubt that anything too significant is going to change with how VNX is playing below, because that didn't really go terribly. He was able to contest and cause a little bit of time spent for getting that mute jammer off, which really wasn't the end of the world. There's obviously something that INTZ feel as though they can do differently. Maybe just knowing that they can go back to bar and maybe have a chance at picking up that round again is a comfort in their mind, but they do need to significantly change something, because the way that we saw this all sort of play out, it wasn't exactly a round that came down to 1 or 2 kills.
No. I'm definitely interested to see how this one's going to go, and I am going to keep a strong eye on what's happening in Piano because of what I mentioned about Palu before. I also think Zach, you know, he's this new player. They spoke yesterday in their interview about how he's in the role that he's in. You know, he's doing a lot of entry fragging. He's playing Jaeger here, so he's one of the fraggers for the team. You don't want him to be lured out of a position and going down very early. You want him to be available for the gunfights that they are inevitably going to have to face later on in the round. So the positioning of him earlier on is going to be really important. Now, Team Liquid are going to have to deal with the denial that is on the office wall. And interestingly, that wasn't there last time. The office wall was half soft before when this was being held. And so right now, that's causing a bit of a problem for Liquid that they're going to figure out how to approach.
Looks as though it has been dealt with, as the exothermic can come on out now. I mean, Hornetire is always going to die in that position, whether by Moringa or... Well, it was really only ever going to be Moringa with his positioning, but still with the exothermic getting open right next to him, he was always going to be very exposed. Palu on the prowl, lurking, seeing if he can find any of these beautiful rotation kills that he's known for on this map. Zach inside of the piano, currently being droned. He does still have the Goyo shield to go off and the Aruni gate, which is going to give him a little bit of security, but for how long is the big question, especially when you've got a player like Nesk who's going to be more than happy to swing that. Sexy Cake, he's going to start to get that plan down. That Toxic Babe canister is far too deep. He's switched it up. He's planted in the different spot. He's not gone for the same as previous. It has forced him off the defuse, though. That C4 from below was going to be enough, but Nesk finds a great frag over onto Zach as the plant has been confirmed. VNX has joined into Zach's location. Can he have a little bit of better fortune here? Currently a 5 versus 3 in favor of Liquid. Drunks is pretty low health as well. Got Vits down below. Is he going to be able to get himself into position? He still has a nitro cell in pocket. E1D is going to stop that rotation for a time as Drunks gets himself downed and eventually, inevitably, finished on off. As the time ticks, we all know that it takes 7.5 seconds to defuse. Palu, there it is. He had to find the rotation kill at some point, Gio, even if it was relatively impactless at the end. But another round win here for Liquid.
I'll be honest, the attempt at the denial onto the plant was actually really heartbreaking for INTZ because it was so close to Sexy Cake. It wasn't far away at all. It was just on slightly too much on the other side of the little half wall. And if it had been just slightly closer, they probably would have actually landed the denial on that perfectly. which would have made life a lot harder for Team Liquid. They would have had to adapt to what the situation was. They would have had to move the diffuser because there's a huge hole in the floor. And maybe it would have been better for INTZ. Now, again, yes, I have to bring it up. You mentioned the Palu kill at the end, but it wasn't even just that. It was Nesk's kill onto Zach as well in the same damn window. Yeah. Stop playing on the windows! The plant isn't happening in the windows. I understand why they're doing it. They know that there are players from Team Liquid right outside them. Don't just, like, look, you're a huge fleshy target that has a bullseye on your face. Don't just jump in front of the line of sight and be like, hey, I'm here, by the way. I don't think that's the best play. And you could very easily hear me say that and be like, well, Gio, you're not a pro player. What do you know? Well, I know that it's not worked for INTZ the last 3 rounds in a row. They have lost more people than they really needed to at all by doing that exact same play. Please stop. Keep yourself alive. I promise you it's better.
It just needs castle barricading off, and a Rooney gate placing on it, and a deployable shield putting up against it, and just forget about it. Just act like it doesn't exist. Please, for the love of God, just do whatever you need to do. I mean, even then, Liquid would get through, and it'd just cause a little bit more time. But the point remains that it is a situation where Liquid do find a lot of good success through these rotation kills, and it's in part due to the way that they're able to manipulate the players on the site and in the map as a whole. And that's really sort of the key takeaway from this, isn't that, you know, Palu's just getting really lucky from that window, or Nesk is getting lucky from that window. It is a situation where not only, like, a lot of their round, probably a good sort of 50% of their roam clear is all about rotating players and forcing them to move around and then being able to take them out on that rotation. So that's really the big takeaway here. Now, we are attacking a site that Liquid struggled on previously back in round number 1. This is the only site that INTZ have won so far. So we would like to see INTZ sort of continue with that fashion, because so far they've not found success anywhere else.
Yeah, and I'm really, really intrigued to see how this is going to go for Team Liquid. Already got control of Piano. INTZ haven't extended much. Zach is actually in the place that Hornetown was playing on last time. And Vitz has taken the library stairs. So already we've seen some difference in the way this is being played. Note too that these shields behind which they're standing, they're regular shields. They're not using Vulcan shields. Goyo has not been brought. They have decided to lean into an Aruni. So this is different. Ooh. There's some fire anyway, but that's from Capital as opposed to a Goyo, and that is certainly going to help flush out these players. Nesk to get the first kill onto Zach, and now Moringa's looking into Library.
They weren't intended to be Vulcan shields, but they were in the end. Hornetown trying to hold on inside of Library now. Zach has fallen. The Capital being the big adaptation here from Team Liquid, and it's worked straight away in forcing Vitz out of that location. Still time isn't aplenty. There are 35 seconds, and this was a round where Liquid did run out previously. Our breach gadget there being used on the hatch in toward Library. Kills continuing to come in here for Liquid as Neski picks up a double kill on the round, taking down Vitz. Hornetown is going to be inside of gaming right now. He's exposed vertically and will be eventually taken on down. Drunks is going to be inside of stock. He has to go pretty big here, but eventually will just be flooded. Nesk knew exactly where he was. Wasn't taking any chances with that one. Pre-fires as he goes. Liquid made some changes there. Some small changes, but they were very effective.
Yeah, far more effective in the way that they attacked onto that. They didn't allow the utility to hold them back. They weren't playing slowly. They used the Capitan to help facilitate a more aggressive push. They flushed those 2 really key defenders who caused them so many issues back in round number 1 out, and using someone like Moringa, for example, to push on up to Library, ensure that that was cleared out as well. They were really, really effective and swift in the way they went about that. And once they actually got down to the site itself, they just kind of bulldozed their way through it. It's Team Liquid. You don't need to be pretty and clean once you get to that point in a round. And they didn't even get to that point back in round number 1. Now, the concerning thing here, if you're INTZ, is that every site that you've now visited has been defeated by Team Liquid. You only have one more option one more chance to make this work in this half. Now, what I will say is Chalet is very attacker-sided, and what we have typically said in the past is that even a 5-1 half is not the end of the world if you're the defender and you've only got one round. You just have to ensure that your attack is up to scratch compared to what the opponent's was. It's not very often that we get maps like that in Rainbow Six. The only one I can think of was Theme Park, where it was kind of the other way around, and a 5-1 half for the defenders was a lot better. But INTZ, of course, want to make it a 4-2 if they can, and that's a really nice spawn peek from Hornetow, who is going to up the likelihood of it happening.
Only one way of getting the job done, isn't it? Taking down Sexy Kate. You can't pick who you get, but to get the hard breach is always a good tick. Now, I guess the sort of unfortunate thing for INTZ is that they haven't actually gone to a site where hard breach has been a big point of contention, right? We've seen this site defended twice now by INTZ, and they've won one, lost one. The time that Liquid win is the time that they bring the Capitao and have a better ability to flush out players playing behind deployable shields and ADSs. And again, it's the time that they don't have it. So really for INTZ, this should be a little bit more straightforward in terms of them holding on, because the lineup would suggest that Liquid were expecting them to go somewhere else.
Very patient so far. No more kills have actually been taken by either side since the death of Sexy Cake. VNX takes some damage, but he can pass on the information to the rest of his team. And actually, Palu goes scattering straight after that as well. Just roaming around on the bottom floor. Interesting too, because this isn't the approach that Team Liquid took the last 2 times that they've been to this site. INTZ have got to try and figure out what it is they're looking to do. Are they going to be coming up the library stairs from below and have an upstairs push too? I mean, look, we've got Nesk who's actually on the ground floor too. Every single floor in this map is being utilized by Team Liquid.
E1D going to come on through as an attempt to root players in position, but PSK gets taken down off the back of it. Obviously, too confident in the push. Vitz as well. He's going to pick himself up too. A nade comes through from Palu as he finds himself one with the G36 as well. He's still in a 1 versus 3. He's got 40 seconds left to go. Don't suppose there's that much info available here for Liquid, given that Sexy Cake likely died with 2 drones. There's 6 left, and well, no one's really manning a drone currently. Palu, is he going to be able to find the next? Yes, he does. Hornetow, how do you get caught so far out of position? INTZ really breaking this one down for him, and if anyone can do it, it's a player of Palu's capability. 13 seconds left. Drunks with the swing will win that engagement, but you do worry if Drunks loses that one, it all of a sudden gets locked into a 1v1. Still, INTZ, they do come away there with a 2-4 split.
To me, the entire outcome and playing of that round suggests that Team Liquid were giving INTZ a ton of respect, because Team Liquid could have very easily just gone for the exact same strategy that they did in the previous round and maybe get the same results, but they were giving INTZ a lot of respect for the fact that they expected them to have adapted. Now, there is, of course, always the chance that they were expecting INTZ to have gone for a kitchen defense, for example, not necessarily return to bar, and so they weren't going to bring the same operator lineup. But it doesn't really matter that much from that perspective. The point is that Team Liquid decided to go for something very different in their attacking strategy. And really throw INTZ off the scent. And I think while they probably were successful in throwing INTZ off the scent, that doesn't mean they were far enough off the scent that they couldn't react to it. And Team Liquid got themselves caught in a lot of 1 versus 1s, became very aggressive. There were a lot of just individual and independent fights that meant that by the time Liquid even got to the site, it was just Palu left. So it was quite messy. Not the cleanest round that Team Liquid could have done, but it does leave INTZ in a really fortunate position where they could get 2 rounds at the half.
(4-2) here for Liquid then. They need to have a average showing on defense to come away with a win. 3-3 split would do it for them. This is where you start to shine the spotlight really onto INTZ, and you do start to wonder and think, are they going to be able to find that coordination to take these attacking rounds on Chalet? Because there's often a lot that needs to be done individually as an attacker on this map, but it all needs to be done at the same time and in some sort of synergy and synchrony with the remaining members of your team. Going to be a big proving ground here. You look towards a player like Zach, who's primed and waiting to get himself hopped into trophy. Currently yet to find a kill inside of the game. But as a player that has been touted as one of the main entries for INTZ, you really start to look toward him for something here.
Team Liquid have a lot of presence downstairs as well. And, you know, you look at someone like Parlu, who's playing Mute and therefore has a C4, it's unsurprising. But it'll actually be Nesk to find the first kill, and Parlu is the first death for the side of Team Liquid. Nesk is trying to get another one, but it'll be Zach who becomes the victor in that 1 versus 1. He's very low health himself, however, and is going to have to be careful and likely not over-aggress, or at least you would hope. Moringa's the only person here who's got Fort actually on the site. Unsurprising given that he's a smoke, but with the holes in the floor, he's going to have to watch out for a number of different angles.
Vitz does find himself down for the count. Not sure if he's going to be able to be picked up or not. Zach gets down vertically as well. He was only on a shred of health, so it's no huge surprise. Hornetau finds himself one. There's live information available here on the Yokai drone, as Vitz is desperately scurrying himself toward Hornetau, getting himself revived. Still a lot of information available, as the Yokai drones are up here for Liquid. They're going to be able to use those to assist the final 2 players. They are in a man disadvantage, but they do have info on their side. 30 seconds left for INTZ to make this push. And see players dropping to find alternate lines of approach. Sexy Cake going to be trying to lock it down as best he can. Moringa has 1 Toxic Babe canister left. There's going to be a player looking to push on through that. Hornetau is going to get flash, but swings through, finding the frag over onto Moringa. Sexy Cake, he has to now either deny the plant or find all 3 kills. He knows that the plant is going down. A big engagement with Hornetau here. He chooses instead to go into the Yokai, but can't find the drone. It has already been taken out, and now he's locked into the 1 versus 3. Only a matter of time until he gets swung. Hornetau has played this one beautifully. Just challenging outside of that window. Not overcommitting to the swing. And really making Sexy Cake in a position where he can't do anything about this. Toying with his food. Eventually, he will be taken down. There's a player on the upside down rappel next to deal with. And then after that, you've got to move on through and look to deal with VNX. There's so much to do inside of so little time here. Sexy Cake goes for the swing, but VNX... he wasn't taking any chances. Holding the angle. Able to pick that final frag up. Really great execute there by INTZ.
It was a very impressive round by them. You know, they were pretty systematic in the way that they got rid of the defenders who were down below the site, which was, I think, a threat that Team Liquid were hoping would prop them up a decent amount. I mean, you would assume so, otherwise they wouldn't have done it. But for it to be as easy as it kind of looked for INTZ, that was something that took me by surprise. Well, the next step of the equation was that they were going to have to clear out this anchor who was present inside the closet. That was Moringa. Now, they knew where Moringa was, probably because of some information, but if not, it was definitely because of the Toxic Babe canister that he decided to throw in downstairs. They knew that Moringa wasn't downstairs. They knew the angle of approach that the Toxic Babe canister came from, so they know he's going to be present in the closet. And it's not a too uncommon place for a smoke to sit either. So even though it was just Hornetau who got a kill onto Moringa, what they actually tried to do was, I think, throw in the nade to force Moringa out of position, and then Hornetau, the idea was that he would get the kill. They didn't even need the nade in the end. Hornetau just got the kill straight up. And after that, you know, you've got Sexy Cake on his own. The plant can go in. He can't find his Yokai drone. There's no real way of denying anything because Sexy Cake's playing Echo. He doesn't have a C4, he doesn't have Toxic Vape canisters, and suddenly he's surrounded by all these angles with basically no information as to the whereabouts of his opponents. It was a very well played and quite clean round from INTZ, to be honest, when you think about the way that they went through each section of the Team Liquid roster. And if they can keep that up, then they could find themselves having a very successful attacking half.
It certainly makes it a bit more interesting that INTZ have been able to come out and they've shown us something here on Chalet. We didn't know what we were to expect here because we hadn't seen INTZ play the map. So there was always going to be that sort of question, especially with the introduction of Zach, as to how that would all sort of fit through. The fact they've been able to win around on the attack as well as on the defense has certainly enthused us, and it's no slight going up against Team Liquid here. You know, Team Liquid are a team that we expect to perform on Chalet. It's a map that they're very good at. This round, however, the advantage initially will be on Liquid's side, as Vitz has been taken out relatively early on. Not a kill that's gone traded initially. Especially considering the last round, we saw the trades really starting to come through, especially for the players that were challenging on that vertical. But Liquid are going for a little bit more of a relaxed approach here, not looking to challenge as aggressively.
Yeah. So far, only one kill has been taken, of course. That was onto Vitz. Going to disrupt the destruction, of course. Especially as no sledge has been brought along, so the buck was really the only option for that. And I don't think... No, there's no, like, breaching rounds, like, secondary breaching rounds either. So opening up floors above the site is going to be really tricky from this point on. Zach sending in the lifeline. I assume that was to destroy a shield. Moringa is still safely behind one, though, so he can sit pretty here in dining. This is still taking their time, but when you look at the clock, taking their time does come with a lot of risks. They're edging closer to the 40-second mark. Every single player from Team Liquid is still standing, and INTZ have got to make their way down onto the actual floor of the site. They've opened up the dining room wall. And Moringa does have the hatch there if he needs to drop, but you need someone to actually defend the site itself. I don't see that happening. Another kill for Nesk brings down Hornetau. Team Liquid, sorry, INTZ, further weakened.
Liquid really going for that sort of death by 1,000 paper cuts mentality here of just getting themselves a bit of an advantage and then not looking to press it too heavily. Zach is able to take down PSK, but there's 3 seconds left on the clock. Realistically, what are we going to be able to see INTZ do? Zach was the last player alive. Upstairs, not really in a position to do all too much about that round. INTZ really stalling out there, and it gives the advantage over toward Team Liquid again. They now lead once again by 2 rounds. 1 round away from that match point. They're going to take us downstairs into bar.
Next opportunity for INTZ to show what they have on attack. Now, when we look at the last 2 rounds, we had Master, we had Kitchen. Master, again, top floor site. You only really need to worry about what's happening on the top floor. INTZ did actually do a multi-floor push. They cleared out the defenders of Team Liquid down below the site, but they didn't have to worry about doing anything above the site because there is no such thing as an above the site. In that last round, round 8 on Kitchen, INTZ spent a ton of time upstairs. This is another site where you have to come in and attack from the upstairs. I mean, I suppose there's no stipulation that you have to do that, but you would be rather silly not to. My question is, are INTZ going to find time working against them once again? Very similarly to how Team Liquid did all the way back in round number 1 when they tried to attack onto this site for the first time. INTZ are coming in with a different kind of operator lineup. Bringing along the Thermite once again. Okay, he's going to be carrying smokes, and you might use him to open something. Maybe a hatch. There's not tons of utility to remove shields and whatnot. You've got lifelines, you've got 2 nades. You only have... Well, you've got 6 flashes. It could be worse. And if you really need to invest the smokes into clearing ADSs, then you could. So they have what they need, but I still do worry about the time.
So it would be nice if Flores would slide right into that lineup.
Imagine.
Flores, of course, being banned by Liquid, and on a map like Chalet makes a lot of sense. There's so much pressure on the shields and the utility that you're going to want to try and keep them alive for as long as possible. And Flores with the burn and 4 exploding drones would make short work of a lot of said utility. Zach's been able to do some delicate drone work there, and he's searched himself out somebody to get on a yellow ping. Somebody, I believe, is going to be Moringa as he's sort of holding downstairs. Vitz is able to use the skeleton key and quite freely has got himself inside of master bedroom. Liquid have gone for the defend the library stairs and the top of library corridor option, as opposed to invest in anybody any further inside of master or office.
Oh, they've got control of piano. They're going to have to deal with the Aruni gate in order to actually get through to the library corridor. The thing with an Aruni gate like this is, of course, when it's there, it makes it very hard to commit to, because once you're through it, you can't keep backing in and out of that door. And here's some explosion going off caused by the exothermic charge. And they're going to be sending in some flashes too to burn out the ADSs. That's going to cause PSK to back off as he actually gets flashed by one of them. That could make it easier for INTZ to move down the corridor itself, but PSK is still trying to hold an angle onto them.
It really is going to be one of those rounds that comes down to time, and you do worry for the attackers whenever that is the case. They've got so much work left to do here, and it might be an equal 5 versus 5. The utility on the side of the attackers is certainly dwindling. Toxic Babe Canister is going to stop Zach from pushing on through as cleanly as he would like, and he gets himself taken on down. PSK finds 2 before being traded out there by Drunks. Drunks now able to push on through, can start to challenge that library staircase. Default camera still up, isn't going to make things too easily. Vitz, a great shot there over onto Nesk. Not an easy engagement at all. Palu, he's going to advance up from garage stairs. 3 versus 2 now, as there's still a Malusi Banshee that does need to be dealt with. That's slowing a lot of people down, but time ultimately going to be the winner there for Team Liquid, as that puts them onto a match point.
Again, another example of really struggling to deal with the utility that is upstairs. And I think the Aruni Gate certainly helped with holding INTZ back. You know, they struggled to push their way through. They didn't have anything to particularly flush out the defenders. And even though they kind of pushed PSK back somewhat, they didn't punish him for it. They didn't have anyone come round into the library to get hold of him, and he can still hold on to the relevant angles. So it did come down to that fear that I had, and I feel as if the composition that they brought wasn't necessarily the most ideal for attacking onto that site. It gives them one more chance, though. You know, Team Liquid, if they take this round, that's it. It's over. And I think there have been certain points in this game that have showed flashes of brilliance from INTZ, but it just hasn't been successful or consistent enough. And one of the big things that I mentioned back towards the end of the previous half was Chalet is an attacker-sided map. You know, you would expect a team to do better on the attacking side, and INTZ looked like they had a pretty solid go at it on round 7, where they were attacking onto Master, which they will be doing once again this round. But since then, the story hasn't been the same. And I think they need to, I guess, be more assertive. They need to have a lot more thorough utility clear, that's for sure.
A chance here for Liquid to close things out. This is potentially the last round, as they are currently on a match point. Time being the undoing of both of these teams on the attack when attacking onto Bar, so certainly not a problem that's specific to INTZ. I think with the way that they've played tonight, really giving themselves a good go in here against Liquid. It's never an easy feat to go up against a team such as Formidable on a map that they're well known for. But I think INTZ have given a reasonable account of themselves so far. There's a chance here that they're going to be able to pick up a couple more rounds as well. Moringa, he's going to be getting pressured as Vitz has got a really nice angle there onto Solarium Stairs. What a pinch coming through from INTZ. Hornetow with the nade, the vertical pressure from below from Vitz was really well executed to deal with the player on Solarium Stairs.
Yeah, that was a really nice kill onto Moringa. Well timed, well placed. And it was something that INTZ were good at back in round 7, is clearing out the peripheral players of Team Liquid. Now, Moringa wasn't actually a peripheral player back in round 7. He was very much deep on the site and was someone that, yes, they cleared out very well, but it was much later on into the round beyond this point. It was people like Harlu, for example, who ended up going down early in round number 7. INTZ taking more time to drone, which is certainly nice, but Vitz receives a decent chunk of damage and is going to have to back off down through the basement to make a pretty broad rotation to save himself from that scenario.
Vitz seems to be that player that's always really low. Like, I think in a lot of the rounds he's just taken so much damage and not quite died. And it just must be really frustrating for him if he's having one of those games where he's just constantly getting chunked down and then just really worried about something like that happening where he just takes a couple of bullets from Nesk. Unfortunately for him, he will be taken on down. It equals things up, though, for Liquid, as they certainly needed that, especially with where Vitz was about to start playing. Hornetow, he's another player that keeps swinging out of nowhere, finding himself in the right place at the right time. Now could look to make a rotation up Library. PSK is just waiting for the information that that Yokai drone can provide. Hornetow going to find another over onto Nest, or really continuing his reign of terror. And again, we find ourselves with Sexy Cake and one other to try and hold on from these attackers. Zach, he's going to be able to find Sexy Cake. 11 seconds left this time. Where have we seen this before? Sexy Cake in his trademark position does this time find the kill onto Hornetow. Is he going to get himself into the Yokai drone? No, he's just going to continue to find kills for the time being. Little bit too late there jumping onto the drone, but time was running out for INTZ. They really had no choice. It's currently 1 versus 2 for Sexy Cake. He has a good chance to try and get this done, especially if he has some information, and judging by the pings on the screen, I'd guess he does. Is he going to pre-fire this shot through? No, Drunks. He's going to win that out. The F2 superior at that engagement. INTZ, they hang in for another round.
I said they had one more chance to do it, and they've taken that chance. So on to the next round, round number 11. INTZ have proven that they can be very effective at attacking onto Master. Great, okay, they've got 1 down, but we're going back to a kitchen defense now. This was the next round in which INTZ struggled. Back in round number 8, they lost it. And it was a very messy round as well. I want to see them tighten it up. They need to be a lot cleaner. And I think one of the things that really helped them in that last round that we just saw, and even back in round number 7, is the usage of drones and information and reacting as well was a lot more effective and thorough than it was in rounds 8 or 9, for example, where it seemed a bit more like there was information lacking. And I don't know what it is specifically about that site that makes them feel more comfortable with that, but they were reacting much better to the information they had. Now, I'm hoping that we're going to see more droning. I'm hoping that we're going to see that information be passed on, and the communication, obviously we can't see the communication, but you can get an idea as to whether or not it's going well.
It's 2 rounds in a row where we've seen Master Site be played out, Master and Office, and it's ended in exactly the same way. It's start to hurt the mental a little bit for Team Liquid, especially when they are on that match point. But still, another round and another opportunity. 2 more to win this game out in regulation. I think if you'd have said to me at the start of the day that we were going to see an OT between INTZ and Liquid, I would have been rather surprised, but I don't know. Something gives me that weird feeling. If they're able to pull it off here repeatedly, it's going to start affecting Liquid. To see how the opening part of the round goes.
They've already surpassed the scoreline that they got in stage 1, which was a 7-3. So there's been improvement.
There has. Zach has brought an entire whole round with him.
Love it.
Love to see it.
Oh, man. I mean, it could be more. There could always be more. We'll have to wait and see. A lot of destruction happening from the basement. Zvitz is shooting upwards. One of the benefits of Buck is he works both ways. Opening some of the floor above him. This is, of course, a kitchen defense. So it's on the ground or first floor, depending on what country you are from. We'll call it something different. PSK to get the first kill onto Hornetown, however. They've been using the Geminis quite a lot to be gaining information and also breaking through Surya gates, which aren't relevant in this round particularly, but I think the loss of the Geminis and Hornetown himself is still going to be pretty substantial.
It's the loss of Hornetown, isn't it? He's been a really big player in this game so far. And you do just wonder if INTZ are going to be able to get the job done without him. It's often because of the position he finds himself in. He often finds himself in that sort of lone wolf position, able to come up on the flank or just be in the right place at the right time. And we'll see if it does come to hurt INTZ here. Liquid really aren't looking to press this advantage just yet. They're happy to sit back and let the time do that. There's still a lot of work really here to do. Nesk could have a chance at a little bit of a swing. It'll be a bit of a long-range engage, but PSK going to be getting himself in as well. Not sure if he was removing a nade there or not, but potentially an air jab. Nesk going to find a frag over onto Vitz as he's able to really open things up here. 30 seconds left remaining, and we've still got a roam clear being performed. Not an ideal situation that INTZ find themselves in. VNX, he has some intel. Going to go for some smoke canisters, see if he can try and get this plant down. Zach gives the game away. Is it going to be crucial? It turns out not. Palu, he will fall. 13 seconds left. VNX, he needs to start trying to get something down. Moringa, he's trying to hold it down inside of the side. Drunks, oh, unfortunate timing. Just misses out on a chance at Nesk. Moringa, he comes in with the final frag. That's going to do it for Team Liquid here against INTZ. They are going to take this map and this game of Chalet 7 rounds to 4.
It was a great map to watch, though. I mean, INTZ did really well on a number of rounds. It was really interesting to see where Liquid fell short. It always came down to specific sites as well. You know, Liquid struggled to attack onto Bar. INTZ had really good luck. I don't want to say luck. They did really well to attack onto Master, for example. So you can see directly where the strengths and the weaknesses were with these two teams when going against each other. There was no real variety in that sense. And there were very similar playstyles on a number of the sites that were revisited, other than, I suppose, the way that Liquid were attacking onto Bar. They did it differently every single round. But even though